So I wanted to make my turtles a Christmas gift. I wanted something that had more water space for them. My previous build was like my first one using foam and I screwed it up. So I want to start over. So first what I did was I built the stained wood encasing around the tank. Just because I wanted to have that nice professional look, not something that's from PetSmart. Then I went into building this little triangle piece that I wanted to have for aesthetic look, but also to keep the water lettuce contained into a certain area, because water lettuce, which is weird because it doesn't like water lettuce is weird. It doesn't like water drops on its leaves. So that's what that little triangle piece there for. Then next, I started building this waterfall, and I used pieces of foam from the job site that I was on, had left over. I don't know if you know, but I'm a carpenter, so it's kind of nice I get pieces here and there that I can use for projects. So I've never done one of these before, but I just started cutting the foam into pieces, and I was going to layer it so each layer had a way for the water to drop off. And then I had it to where it was falling right where that triangle's at. Then I started working on building around the basking area. I wanted to have these little pieces of wood to try to make it look like a cabin, you know? And here we have little windows that I wanted to make. So took those and I got some wood plastic and wood stain and mixed it together and put that in between those wood pieces around the top. And this is a miniature aquarium so that they could have it inside their cabin. This is a clear epoxy cast, and they come in a box. You can get that at Hobby Lobby as well. You have to mix it together so that way it activates, and you have to stir it. And I just started filling it in after I put those pieces in. I had attached those pieces with like super glue or hot glue beforehand. It was fun making this. This is going to be the ramp for them to go up into their cabin. These little pieces that I got are really easy to cut. So I started piecing together wood encasing, got some wood plastic and stain, mixed it together, and wanted to fill in those little cracks to square it off, and then I just started staining the rest. Then I put some cocoa sheet down and took glue to the basking area floor. Cut some more pieces to go in front. Hot glued them on. Finished up the windows. And I made these little window sills that would have candles, electric or battery powered candles to put in each one of the windows, so that way at night you could see the cabin lit up. Those little candles, electric candles or battery powered candles, are at Hobby Lobby as well. Here I'm just kind of finishing up putting wood plastic, stained wood plastic, so that way you couldn't see the particle board behind it. Looked pretty cool. I was happy with the result on that one. Then I was just taking fishing line and attaching it to egg crate underneath for their ramp. So now I started kind of fleshing out the cabin. There's the aquarium. I liked how that looked. The little fake trees above it. A snake, crocodile, monkey, chimpanzee. Got the ramp with the water lettuce around it. I like that. Next, I started making a little fish box because I wanted to put a place for the fish to kind of escape from the turtles, because the turtles are going to eat the fish. And wanted the possibility to have fish that could breed and have that little box to go in and lay their eggs. Guppies are a really good choice if you want to have turtles with fish. Guppies breed so much, so that'd be a nice little fish house. So I cut windows in it and attached coconut fiber sheet to it and put some cork bark on top of it and then surrounded it with sub-wassertang. Here I'm putting in that little triangle fixture, getting the fish box set in there, starting cutting some plexiglass. I'm making a little back panel for when the waterfall is set on that side. Yeah, I'm making a waterfall on top of it. Here I'm kind of toying around with how I want to make the waterfall work. Again, I've never done anything like this before, so it took me several weeks to try and get this to be in working order. I can't count how many leaks it had, so I ended up abandoning the idea of having that plastic wood up there. So here I've got some foam, and I'm just taking pond gap filler, and applying it to the sides. Put some rocks in there. I got this little plastic cup, and I started to take glue and glue rocks around it. And it also helped the water to flow correctly. Here I've got these little plexiglass pieces that I'm using to build the waterfall. Different shapes, and I cut holes in it, drilled holes in it, and then I also used my soldering iron to fine tune it. So I started to make this little box for the top of the waterfall, where the water pump would go into the top box and feed out to the rest of the areas. And I used some cocoa peat and glued it to a waterproof fabric, and then I attached the back of this so that the waterfall would be contained on the side. I took a drill bit that I used to grind at work, and it's really nice because it's almost like a sander bit. I mean, I guess you could use a Dremel tool for that too, but I made it so that it had a little bit of a dip in it so the water could flow. I could control the water flow better. Here's a shot of the aquarium after it dried. The little miniature aquarium for the turtle tank. So I was initially just using this as a test. This is kind of just showing you how I was testing different ways to make the water flow, and I eventually abandoning that idea. The water wasn't flowing correctly. I needed the water to have more power to it too, and so I added some pothos fine to certain areas to give it a nice. I took some tree bark and used that to cover up those plexiglass boxes. Just trying to get this tube to set right in the waterfall. So I have these two tubes that are feeding water out to each one of these separate waterfalls. I guess if you think about it, it is several waterfalls, but we'll just call it one waterfall. The beginning stages and end stages of putting pond gap filler in and sealing it with silicone. And I threw some sand, some fake sand. I think it's made out of cork. And then I used some enclosure. And then I used some That's just what it looks like before it's cut. Start cutting it. Now in the future I won't be putting the water lettuce in because it got all over the place and I had to end up taking the water lettuce out and cleaning it with a shop vac. So I learned something there. This is the part that I had to, not this, well, both sides actually kept leaking. That's where the ramp looks like, and I'm putting the refrigerator in. Then I put the fireplace in. That fireplace is an LED fireplace. And then I put the stove and kitchenette with a TV and remote, and I built a little table for him. Of course, they knocked that TV over right as soon as they got in there. Now here I'm just shaping the waterfall with the razor. Then I'm hitting it all with dry lock. I put 2 coats on. Building that little waterfall on the left side. I had some trouble with this too, so I had to fine tune it. Silicone on the back, and then I just put a bunch of cocoa peat on there. To begin, this is kind of the main feeder box. See, I put that separator in there so that I could push it out better to each side, going left and right. And these are the plexiglass boxes that drop, the first level of dropping after it gets pushed out from each of those the separated one in the middle. I'm just gluing it, taking silicone, or actually hot glue, and I hot glued it underneath there. So now I've got all the pieces glued in there. The plexiglass boxes are nice and hot glued on. So I wanted to give it a test run. So adding some extra holes. So I use the bigger pieces, spouts with the metal pipes. Waterfalls are not easy. They look like they'd be easy, but there's a lot of variables that get the water to get caught on things and to not flow right. It's fun to do though, that's for sure. Just takes forever. Now we're on to the plants. Cryptocorn wendeti, Sindor. These plants I got are cultured plants. Cryptocorn crispatula, ritola. Batik croton. The Rhotola indica bonsai, I tried planting in the front of the tank. This plant has been the most problematic out of all of them. For some reason, they don't like to stay connected to the roots. So a combination of these plants I've used were like around the basking area, I used the golden pothos as well as the King's Choice ivy, the limelight, and the corn plant. The subwasserting I used at the bottom of the tank, as well as any spots where I needed to cover up like zip ties. And subwasserting is like a plant that almost could be substituted for Java moss. It cleans the tank, and from what I've noticed, the turtles aren't really eating it, which is good because it's really hard to find plants that turtles don't eat. I used the water weeds in the back, help to like give a nice background effect. Since they're so long, they fill a lot of space up. So I added cherry shrimp and ghost shrimp. The shrimp started to make babies. You can see one here right now, the eggs. Here's a shot of the turtles. Their first sit down in the basking area. They're checking out their own aquarium.